काइंडली स्टार्ट सर.
वो डिस्कनेक्ट कर दिया ना, आवाज़ नहीं आती बस.
हाँ, आपका आवाज़ मेरे तक पहुंच रहे सर. अगर आप स्लाइड देख रहे हैं तो काइंडली स्टार्ट सर.
आई एम नॉट एबल टू हियर यू.
ओके. सर.
इसको ऑन रखिए, अभी आवाज़ आती है यहाँ.
यस यस, अभी इसको ऑन रखेंगे हम. आप कहते जाइए सर. नेक्स्ट बोलने से स्लाइड चेंज करूंगा. स्टार्ट कर दीजिए सर.
ठीक.
मैं स्लाइड चेंज करूं सर.
हाँ बिल्कुल. We start our journey from Manali. At Manali, amphibolite trade meta sediments are exposed, which are highly folded and deformed. By the time you reach towards the upper part, the Rotang part, you find the tips are very low and almost horizontal. What you see here in the central part of the top slide is a quartzite and then granites. There's a place, Muddy, where we usually stop for breakfast. You can see a overturned incline in which the keel part is Permian and the core part is Jurassic. This rests right over the Precambrian and represents the late Permian transgression. And this, what you see, the bottom right slide, is the Norton Pass in 1963, when there were no roads and everything used to be covered by snow. And we used to cross this by 8 o'clock in the morning. It used to be very windy. Next. And as you go down, first you come through a forest of birch trees, and which is around. There's a slide there, so you can see the bent trees. And when you move forward, you see the typical glacial topography, lot of glaciers, moraines, and some of the moraines have come right up to the Chandra River. And the rivers are snow-fed, turbulent, and carry fairly large mammoths. And the grade of metamorphism as we move towards the base of the Kunzam Pass, or say bottle place, it gradually decreases and is overlain by the Tizian sediments. The contact between the meta sediments called as Vaikita is regarded confirmable by Cancer, also Srikandia, and I consider it as a non-conformable due to contrasting deformation pattern. But the present concept is that it's a fault, what they call it, south tributary detachment fault. And then you come to the typical Cambrian succession, which is of shale, siltstone, and sandstone, mostly of the subtidal environment of Kuzamla formation. So this is the bottom left side is a Kunzamla Pass, after which the Cambrian have been named Kunzamla formation. Next. Just to acquaint you about some, I don't expect you to remember all the names, but just name that in Hemanta you have Patal and Kunzamla. There's a major break between. Kunzamla is Middle Cambrian, and then you over that you have the lower Ordovician Tango passing into the late Ordovician going up to Venlong, that is lower Silurian. And there is a break between this, what we have called a Sanupa formation, and the Mut formation. And Mut to Po, Dipak Po, and Ganmachidam, that is conglomerate, is continuous succession. But where there is a break, you don't see Po and Ganmachidam, and Nechang, that is Permian sandstone, directly overlies the Dipak formation. And there is a break between the lower and upper Permian also, which elsewhere is represented by the Panjal volcanics. And then we have the Triassic Sequence after the break. Then we break with the what we call upper colloquial break, and it's overlaid by the Jurassic Expedition and Grimaldi. That's the general stratigraphy of this video. You can move further now. See, next slide. So, the Cambrian is, you see the Fraser lenticular bedding, there's almost subtidal environment here, and top part has several dolomitic limestone beds, and which are fossiliferous, which have needed trilobites besides some brachiopods. And then I'm not following the stratigraphy here. I'm giving you the description of the rocks as we see during our travels. And then you see an angular conformity between the Cambrian and Ordovician. You can see this Cambrian part is almost at 60 degrees, and Ordovician part is just truncating over it. In the top right slide, you see the Takche formation, and then the distant one, the yellow colored thing, is the Mut formation, what is called the Mut Korzai. And as you move after this, we pass through a succession of Triassic, all through the Triassic, and by the time you reach Kyoto and get down to the Nala, you see a vast lake deposit, a recent lake deposit. All the yellow colored rocks which you see, because of the next slide. The landslide had blocked the Spiti River and formed lake, and there were a number of such lakes which I think must have been caused by some earthquake at that time, which triggered several landslides and blocked the Spiti River at several places and formed lakes from one end to another. Next one. Then as you go towards this, you can see the typical Triassic rocks, and then one very spectacular quaternary deposits. Top bit part is the typical valley erosion of a river terrace, and then you see the domaicines and some of the moranic material also form earth pillars, and then you see the typical grading of the river, which is Spiti River, shows the grading. And then finally you cross the bridge and you reach Kazan. The last left, right, bottom slide is Kazan. Next one. And once you drive from Kazan all the way, and this is the gateway for the Pin Valley. Just some background information is needed here. Along this Spiti River, there is a major fault. On the left side, we have the Permian, and on the right side, we have the late Triassic. But when you come to the right side where we are following, we are in the Triassic part. Next. And the Pin River takes off from Pinpointing Pass. It's a very spectacular sight, which I had visited sometimes in 1963. And from one side, the Spiti River takes off on the southern, on the northern side, the Parvati River takes off. That is Pin Parvati. That's why it's known as Pinpointing Pass. Next. So just as you enter this, move towards the Pinpointing Pass, you see there is a huge landslide or rock avalanche. You can see on the left side, the bottom part unsorted, blast and boulders which formed a rock slide, and which had blocked the Spiti River and led to form a lake and sedimentation of lacustrine sediment has taken place. And within these lacustrine sediments, at many places you find soft sediment deformation. And since you find these deformation layers persisting for many large distances, I considered as a paleoseismites. Mr. Pradeep Singh, who is presently director in Ministry of Mines, is the one standing there. Next one. And as you go further, as I said, I am not following the stratigraphy. I am just following the outcrop you see while you are going towards the Purus Valley. So this is a coral reef of mid-Norian age, and something very spectacular, and is known. Reef of the same age is known from Als, Oman, and this part as well. This is the top view of the coral reef. Next one, please. This is the vertical view or lateral view as we call it. You can see the way the corals are growing along with the sponges, stromatoporoid, etc. Yes. Now this I have taken you to the left bank, which I said you have a fault because this part is very well exposed on the left bank and not on the right. So what you see, a light colored rock, that is the Permian sandstone, and a sharp contact you have the dark colored rocks, which is the Dugri or the late Permian. There is a break between, and over the black shade with a sharp contact you have the Triassic, and this is the what we call a contact between Permian and the Triassic. There is a break between these two, and this we had investigated, and we had 2 papers on it, but unfortunately you can't see it anymore because the PWD has constructed a wall around it. But still, some of the sections and bulling can be seen. So in this we have tried to show you, it's a very thin ferruginous layer. And since this ferruginous layer penetrates into the overlying rocks, and also we thought that it represents a submarine break. I mean, I won't go into the details there, but there are many evidences that we thought is a submarine break. Next one. And after this outcrop, you see what you see in the left top, the typical Triassic sequence. You see the black shades overlaid by the Beacon Formation, Kaga, and this is the section which we see at the Lelang group, Lelang village. But when you come to the Pin Valley side, is because of an anti-formal position, you see the Mut quartzite and passing into the Lipak formation. So the right top you can see alternation of quartzite, carbonate, and it finally passes into the Lipak formation. Lipak formation downstream of Spiti, somewhere at Burdi, is overlaid by massive gypsum deposits, which is economical, but because of the logistics it can't be bought, but it's a huge deposit. Next one. And then this Mut, you see Mut, there's a place, Khar village, you see it on the left, right, both the sides, the Mut formation, and Mut formation is overlaid by the Lipak, and the Lipak formation is overlaid by Ko and Dalmacidum in normal sections, but in this part there is a break with the result you find the Lipak is overlaid by the lower Permian Kechang formation of Artesian Sacramarian age, and the bottom part you see is how a steep hill is formed by the Mut formation, and this was a very productive as far as some fossils were concerned. And it forms a very gentle anticlinal spur. From if you are at Bulling, you can see on the opposite bank that its structure is very clear. Next. This is something very interesting. See the top left are siliciclastic stromatolites. It's rare that you see stromatolites in the quartzite because it's the replacement. And you can see the arches on the top right side. And these are the trackways of the giant scorpion, which is found only in Antarctica, Australia and India. And unfortunately, the one which we had found so far in this city have been destroyed by the road cutting. You don't see it anymore. This is a fine photograph. Next one, please. Now, after Bulik, when we move to pass through the entire succession of Triassic, all the formation of Triassics, not all, but most of them are exposed till you reach Muth. At Muth, we see the lower Triassic, and then because of this structural complications or folding, you find that is when you move from, you first to come to Muth. At Muth there is the Muth quartzite, the Muth formation, and then you move ahead towards Farakha Muth, they call it. So you find the Muth formation, which has a sharp contact with the Takche formation. Takche formation, as I said, is the late Ordovician to lower Silurian, and Muth is lower Devonian. There is a big break. And next one we can go. The Takche formation has coral buildups. There's small reefs here, small reef there, mostly of the corals and stromatoporoids. And this is a view of Paleophagocytes, which is a typical Ordovician fossil. Next one, please. And Takche formation is underlain by Thango formation. Thango formation begins with a conglomerate, and this conglomerate we find right from Peshawar up to Pambanak section in Gangwon, and is overlaid by a thick succession of quartzite or sandstone. There are views that this is red color and it's a fluvial deposit, but when we saw it, we found that's a very well sorted quartzite. Well-sorted quartzites without mud are not found in the fluvial sequence. Well-sorted quartzite is the result of winnowing, which takes place best in the beaches or the marine environment. Next one we can see. Next. On the opposite bank, you can see this again. What we saw in the beginning in the upper Spiti Valley, and the angular conformity between the Cambrian and Ordovician, you can see it here in the upper Cook Valley also. It's very clear. Next. Now, these are very interesting aspects that you have a first order topography, anticlinal hill and synclinal valleys. And also you see the topography of physiographic surface is parallel to the bedding. That shows that no erosion has taken, not much erosion has taken place after the formation of these folds. It's a first order topography, and it shows that these folds are rather young. Suppose a fishing village, when you are putting inside, from there you can see it. Next. But you also have a topography which is maturing. On the left side you see an anticline with a depression at the top. This is the beginning of the development of anticlinal valley. And on the other side, when you see the Sikkim hill, it's a typical synclinal. It's absolutely a mature topography. So this way we can also use it for dating of the fourth generation. Next one, please. And this is the route we had followed. just do third day. On return journey, we can follow the Rampur road, Hindustan Tibet road, and reach Shimla, and it will take about at least 2 days, if not more. But I know it is easier to go through this because you don't need acclimatization, but the landslides are very frequent here, so it's a very tricky, very treacherous route, especially during the monsoon. Next one, please. Now, these are the typical attire of Spiti used to be. Now, of course, they have become very modern, and you can find the local Spitians moving in jeans and t-shirt. But this is the typical one, and most of them wear goggles because protect their eyes from snow glare. And these are the women still wear the normal traditional dresses, though the young girls they have taken to salwar kameez. These are the houses, flat top houses made of sun-dried mud bricks, which you can call them adobe houses. The flat roof, and over that they keep a lot of grass, dried grass, which acts as a air conditioner for them, because a lot of the snowfall, so it absorbs much of snow there, and the cold, and the inside rooms are fairly warm. Next one. And these are the photographs of Tabo. They don't allow any photography anymore. So this I have borrowed it from already published work. Tabo is considered to be 1,000-year-old monastery, and it was in total ruins when I visited first in 1962. Later, the Japanese restored most of the paintings, and they are in good form. It's also known as Ajanta of Himalaya. And there are some petroglyphics of at Tabo, that is some rock paintings and rock carvings. Next one. And these are two very famous monasteries. On the left is the Drunkard Farm, which is situated over the morainic material. And of course, morainic material, some of them are also slides. It's a very precarious situation. And the right side is the Ki Gomfa, situated over the Propite beds. And Ki Gomfa is a sort of university for them. The normal thing is that only the eldest son and eldest daughter marry. All younger ones are made to Nama or Chomo, the female nuns. And for nuns there is a coventry in other places, and you will find children of 4 or 5 years age coming to living in the Gomfa, the Gomfa, and depending on their aptitude, they are trained to become lamas and respect all over the Himalaya and even Ladakh. Even in Kursak, that is in Sokar, or Somurari Lake, there was a lama who has graduated from this Gomfa. And this is the bottom monastery, the Gundri monastery, which has been now recently renovated.